Hello and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. Dutch citizens protesting against the nationwide lockdown have torched the COVID-19 testing center. Meanwhile, New Zealand has detected its first COVID-19 community case in 2 months as a woman tested positive for the mutant variant first found in South Africa. Pakistan has reported more than 1,600 cases and 23 deaths overnight, with a toll crossing 11,300. The global number of infections is set to cross the 100 million mark, with more than 2.1 million fatalities. A Palestinian worker has died after choking on tear gas fired by Israeli troops in the occupied West Bank. Palestine's health ministry says Fuad Jude had a heart attack due to inhaling large amount of toxic gas. It said 50 Palestinians were trying to cross a separation fence to reach their workplaces when the Israeli army attacked them. The United States and France have agreed to coordinate on the Iran nuclear deal. In a statement, the Elisa Palace says French President Emmanuel Macron and U.S. President Joe Biden spoke over a phone call. The two leaders also agreed on climate change and the fight against coronavirus pandemic. In Portugal, President Marcelo Rebelo de Souza has won a second term by securing 61% of votes. The election was marked by a record 60% abstention as the country battles the third wave of COVID-19. And in cricket, South Africa will face Pakistan in the first test match at National Stadium, Karachi on Tuesday. The Proteas are playing in Pakistan after a gap of 14 years. Skipper Babar Azam is set to lead the Green Shirts after missing out on the New Zealand tour due to injury. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the news in detail. Dutch citizens protesting against the nationwide lockdown have torched the COVID-19 testing center. Meanwhile, New Zealand has detected its first COVID-19 community case in 2 months as a woman tested positive for the mutant variant first found in South Africa. The global number of infections is set to cross the 100 million mark, with more than 2.1 million fatalities. More about the pandemic in this report.
The number of COVID-19 infections and deaths keeps soaring as the world now battles the new, reportedly more lethal variants of the virus. United States top health expert Dr. Anthony Fauci has warned the strain of COVID-19 that first emerged in the UK can be deadlier than the previous ones. Meanwhile, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has contracted the virus, while the country nears 150,000 COVID-19 deaths. Over in Europe, demonstrations against COVID-19 curbs in the Netherlands have turned violent as anger and frustration continue to grow.
I do not agree with the actual politics in the Netherlands, the restrictions of freedom. We are all talking about the frail elderly. That is certainly true. The elderly are vulnerable. However, there are also many young people who are vulnerable. And young people are the future of this country for me.
In England, despite the lockdown restrictions, people rushed out to enjoy a rare snowfall over the weekend. Italy, the first European country to be hit hard by the outbreak, has surpassed the mark of 85,000 COVID-19 deaths. Turkey has received the second batch of 6.5 million further doses of the vaccine made by China's Sinovac Biotech. Meanwhile, Australia has approved Pfizer for people aged 16 years and older after the vaccine met strict Aussie standards for safety, quality and efficacy.
I note that this is not an emergency approval as has been done in some other jurisdictions around the world. This is a formal approval under the ordinary processes of the TGA. And we are one of the first countries in the handful of countries to have gone through that comprehensive and thorough process here in Australia to ensure the approval of that vaccine.
Egypt has also started vaccinating its frontline medical staff using the jab developed by China National Pharmaceutical Group. Over in China, daily new cases have now climbed to 124 amid the worst wave of new infections seen by the country since March 2020. Meanwhile, the lockdown in the Chinese city of Tonghua has started to cause shortages of food and medicines.
In Pakistan, another 23 people have died from COVID-19 overnight, raising the toll to 11,318. The health ministry says 1,629 new infections were detected over the past 24 hours. The number of cases has risen to over 534,000, where nearly 489,000 have recovered. The ministry reports there are nearly 34,000 active cases across the country. It says out of these, more than 2,000 patients are in critical condition. The president of Azad, Jammu and Kashmir says helping Kashmiris is a collective responsibility of the world and not just that of Pakistan. In a tweet, Masood Khan slammed Indian oppression on occupied Kashmir, saying the people of the valley are suffering grievously. Khan said the 900,000 Indian troops in Kashmir terrorize, kill and torture the unarmed residents. The president called on the world to come forward and rescue them. He said the mass graves of thousands has been discovered, while thousands are victims of enforced disappearance. In India, farm leaders have objected to the conditional permission for the January 26 tractor march by the Narendra Modi government. They say the BJP is trying to limit the march largely to the Haryana state. The farmers are set to have another round of meeting with Delhi police today to discuss rally routes and time. Thousands of farmers are marching towards the national capital for the planned tractor rally on the Indian Republic Day. Meanwhile, the leaders of Maharashtra ruling parties are likely to join a public rally by the farmers in Mumbai today. The agitation over new laws has entered its 61st day as the standoff between the government and the farmers continues. A Palestinian worker has died after choking on tear gas fired by Israeli troops in the occupied West Bank. Palestine's health ministry says Faoud Joudeh had a heart attack due to inhaling large amounts of toxic gas. It said 50 people were trying to cross a separation fence when the Israeli army attacked them. The ministry added that the Palestinians were going to their workplace after more than 20 days of unemployment. Israeli authorities have banned workers from entering the occupied lands without a permit. The Yemeni government and Houthi rebels have started a new round of UN broker talks for a prisoner exchange. UN envoy to Yemen, Martin Griffith, says the fifth meeting is being held in Jordan's capital city of Amman. In a statement, envoy Griffiths called on rivals to give priority to the release of sick and wounded prisoners. He also urged the parties to agree on names beyond this meeting's list to fulfill the Stockholm commitment to free all detainees. In October last year, the warring sides exchanged over 1,000 prisoners. Indonesia has seized 2 tankers over suspicions of carrying out the illegal transfer of oil in its waters. Maritime officials say one of the captured tankers belongs to Panama, while the other one is Iranian flagged. The officials said they seized the tankers in waters of Indonesia's West Kalimantan province. They added that vessels are now being escorted to Batam Island for further investigation. The officials said the tankers concealed their identities by not showing their national flags. Last year, Iran sent the empty horse vessel to Venezuela to deliver over 2 million barrels of condensate. In central Mali, terrorists have killed at least 6 soldiers in twin attacks on army checkposts in the Mopti region. The Malian army says 18 other soldiers were wounded during the clashes in Bolkesi and Mondoro. In a statement, the army said 30 terrorists were also killed in a coordinated response attack with the French troops. It added that some 40 motorcycles and a large amount of military gear were seized from the attackers. The French military-led Operation Barkhane began in 2014 to strengthen Mali's defense against terrorism. Terrorist attacks in Mali have killed thousands of soldiers and civilians since 2012. The United States and France have agreed to coordinate on the Iran nuclear deal. In a statement, the Elysee Palace says French President Emmanuel Macron and U.S. President Joe Biden spoke over a phone call. The statement added the two leaders also agreed on climate change and the fight against coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, a White House statement said Biden expressed his desire to strengthen bilateral ties. It said Biden emphasized his commitment to bolster transatlantic relations through NATO and the U.S.-EU partnership. The White House added that the leaders agreed to work on shared foreign policy priorities, including China, the Middle East, and Russia. In Portugal, President Marcelo Rebelo de Souza has won a second term by securing 61% of votes. The election was marked by a record 60% abstention as the country battles a third wave of COVID-19. De Souza's rival left-winger Ana Gomes secured 13%, while far-right André Ventura received 12% of the vote. In Portugal, the president holds a largely ceremonial role but can veto certain laws and decree a state of emergency. In his victory speech, Rebelo de Souza vowed to be a president who stabilizes and unites the nation.
Tenho a exata consciência.
I have the absolute conscience that the renovated conscience is everything but a blank check. He who receives the mandate must carry on being the president to all, to everyone, a close president who stabilizes, unites, who is not only the good against the bad.
Presidente próximo.
More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket has set a unique record by successfully deploying 143 satellites into orbit in a single mission. The Falcon 9 took flight on its Transporter-1 mission from Florida's Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. SpaceX deployed a payload of 133 commercial and government satellites. It also deployed 10 of its own Starlink satellites. The rocket returned to a sea-based landing pad after completing the mission. SpaceX is calling Transporter-1 its first small-sat ride-share program mission. Sophia, the famous robot, says she hopes humans remember that viruses do not care about lines on the map. She is a star and brainchild of Hanson Robotics and was created to promote human-to-machine empathy and compassion. What more she has to say in this report.
My name is Sophia. I am an artificial intelligence. You might like to become an artificial intelligence.
The cybernetic celebrity has made her fame across late-night shows. She appeared on the cover of fashion magazines and was appointed the United Nations' first non-human innovation champion. Sophia was also controversially given legal citizenship in Saudi Arabia in 2017. She can hold a conversation and display a range of emotional facial expressions among her many functions.
Social robots like me can help take care of the sick or elderly in many kinds of healthcare and medical uses. I can help communicate, give therapy, and provide social stimulation even in difficult situations.
Her creators are developing more functions for her. This includes the ability to take one's body temperature using a small thermal camera and leading aerobics exercises. Sophia has yet to hit the wide consumer market, but the Hong Kong-based team says 4 models, including Sophia, will start rolling out of factories by the first half of 2021.
We are just now mass producing Sophia. This is Sophia number 24, and many of my previous robots were hand built. However, now we have begun scaling the manufacturing of Sophia so we can make hundreds and into thousands of units of Sophia and use this also as the foundation for many other kinds of characters.
The rise of the robots was already on course before the pandemic. International federations of robotics reported worldwide sales of professional service robots has already jumped 32% to $11.2 billion between 2018 and 2019.
In Turkey, an exhibition in ice museum containing illuminated ice sculptures takes visitors on a journey through the poles. The organizers aim to promote the local culture with such events. More in this report.
Turkey's Ata Ice Museum in eastern Erzurum province is one of the country's most important centers of winter tourism. The museum was opened last year at the Faculty of Fine Arts at Ataturk University in Erzurum. It is now welcoming visitors with the new works of art. A total 22 works made of ice, including an igloo, a map of Turkey, a national flag, a statue of Nin Hatun, are being shown at the exhibition. Mustafa Bulat, Dean of the Fine Arts faculty, tells that it took 3 months to prepare the exhibition.
Many works such as the igloo house, the symbol of the tent tradition of the Poles and Central Asia, statues such as the Huma bird for children, the seahorse and small sailboat, the map of Turkey and the Turkish flag, the Nene Hatun, one of the symbols of the Erzurum, were heated with iron and then combined together.
The visitors have to wear coats due to the cold temperatures inside. Halil Daskasen, a teacher with the sculpture department, says he dedicated piano-shaped sculpture of famous Turkish composer Mamar Sun.
The piano was especially dedicated to the Muammar son, in memory of our teacher who wrote the anthem of the 40th anniversary of our university. We will bring our work together with art lovers for 2 months.
The organizers say they aim to contribute to the country's tourism by introducing a culture of the region.
Shares in the Asia Pacific have risen as investors monitor the situation surrounding the coronavirus pandemic. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index and South Korea's Kashmir are leading the gains by jumping over 2%. In mainland China, the Shanghai Composite has gained over 0.5%, while the Shenzhen Component has advanced nearly 1%. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 has added over 0.5%. Shares in Australia have also edged higher, with the ASX 200 also gaining marginally. Now it's time to have a look at the weather update across the globe. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.news.